Hello, everyone, and welcome for another episode of Candor with Pres Eve. I am just thrilled to have with us two of my favorite people in the world, Stacy Klein, who is the artistic director of Double Edge, and Carlos Uriona, who is the co-artistic director of Double Edge. And if you don't know, Double Edge is just this hidden little treasure, a gem here in the rural town of Ashfield, Massachusetts. And I would love for the two of you to tell us what Double Edge is. So why don't you start us off, Stacy?
Okay, well, first, hi, Eve, and thank you for inviting us to this. You're our favorite person to talk to. Yes. So, Double Edge is a theater collective in Western Mass. We were founded almost 40 years ago. In 2002, April will be our 40th anniversary. And I founded the theater in Boston, Massachusetts. And about 26 years ago, we decided to have two spaces, one in Boston and one in Western Mass. So we looked for a farm and we found one. And we started moving out here for rehearsal and research purposes. And then we fell in love basically with the community and decided that this was our place to be and to grow and to change and transform. So we landed here in 1994 and we've been developing ever since. Double Edge is 105 acres of farmland, theater land. We grow theater performances, residencies, and I think that's about what I can say.
We do exchanges. We do gatherings of thinkers and gatherings of the audience with thinkers about certain themes or issues. So it's a cultural. So we are an ensemble collective. We're a cultural cooperative, and we produce this, which is not just local. It doesn't just function in Ashfield. We sometimes we have performed in Moscow or in DC, or we go to Norway and we do performances and residencies. We also do trainings where we train people physically and to become artists, not just actors, or not just theater people, but also we embrace the arts. So it's a multidisciplinary group. We're about 20 people now.
We're 22 people in our company, and our ensemble, which leads the company and the artistic work, is an ensemble of 12.
Our performances include and incorporate circus skills, acrobatics, aerial work, music. We all play music. We have a lot of visual arts. We include the landscape. Many of our performances includes the landscape as part of the whole art.
Fantastic. When I think of Double Edge, I think of this magical, whimsical place, and it just comes to life in your performances, especially your evening of performances when you have us walking throughout the property and all the lights, all the magic people who seem to come out of nowhere, out of thin air, and suddenly someone is on silk and doing acrobatics on top of you. It's really nice. So I see you as being this multi-generational, multicultural place in a region that is mostly homogenous, and you bring so much culture to us, so much culture to this region, and the places that you travel to, you bring a different kind of culture to those places. So tell me, how did this vision for Double Edge come about?
Well, as I said, I founded the company almost 40 years ago. It was founded as a feminist theater and an ensemble. And it was based on principles of training, physical training that would elevate the artistic endeavor and also give ownership to the actors that were performing. So let's remember that 40 years ago, not only did we need more women leaders, but in ownership positions as well, but as teachers and things like that. I was in a PhD program at Tufts University. There were no teachers that were women in my whole department. So one of the reasons that this vision came about was, how can the women identify themselves beyond being like an ingenue or a dumb next door neighbor type of character in theater? And the other part of the ownership was how to train beyond words.
Mhm.
So how do we engage our imagination? How do we prioritize our imagination? How do we engage our souls, our spirit, our physicality, our bodies in our artwork, and not just be subject to the layer of words and answers that we could have. So we started like that. It was quite exciting, with the people in the group actually being autonomous, not being told what to do, but creative. And it kept becoming more and more apparent as we went that everybody needs to be creative. The audiences also need to be creative. The students need to be creative. How could we create a culture, which ended up being called a living culture, where everyone was engaged in this idea of the imagination? And so it started going well beyond entertainment, where you sit and you receive whatever it is, but you don't participate. That ultimately ended up with the outdoor spectacles that you're talking about, because we wanted to engage more and more. Like, you can walk around, you can be part of it. You can be part of it to the extent you want, because most people don't want to be in the show, but they want to enjoy it on many, many different levels.
That's great. And Carlos, what do you think? What really attracted you to that vision?
I was already in parallel working in Argentina first during the years of the repression and the military dictatorship. One of the things that moved me to this kind of theater, to work outside and outdoors there, was to sort of like reclaim the public space as an artistic space, and also as a place for expression and thinking, which was banned then. We accomplished that to a great extent during those years. And then after that, it became sort of like a fashion in Argentina, Brazil, in many places, Uruguay. So, which also has roots in Mardi Gras, in African culture. I mean, there's so much going into this, but I learned that and I was practicing that. And then I meet Double Edge here in Ashfield, not in Boston. Mm-hmm. And we both thought that we were a really good match. And then we started working together, and even we got married by those chances of life, who knows? And then developing this indoor work, theater work, but also the outdoor work, and a theater that transcends, like Stacy was saying, transcends the performance itself. So when you come to Ashfield, you will see our theater is very integrated to the town, to the extent that we did a town spectacle where the town was part of the show. Wow. And it happened in the town. It was 2 days of 8 hours of performance. More than 1,700 people came to each day. And it was like 10 blocks of performances. So you would walk through performances and exhibitions and art and music, and even a town meeting that was not at a town meeting, but we did a town meeting with the town members to share with audience what that is. So I don't know, this is what somehow try to encapsulate how living culture happens. There's a lot of exchanges every day here of work, of care, of dealing with each other's lives and help each other. It's a great experience in Ashfield.
It's wonderful how you make the arts really accessible to all. And that even though you have your craft that is really sophisticated, you're able to bring it in a way that others can participate. And I also have to say that I love the fact that it's more than just the creative part, that you are making a statement. And from your very outset, as you were talking, Stacey, I thought, wow, this was a movement that you started 40 years ago to have more women and to have more women in a leadership capacity. And then hearing your story, Carlos, about wanting to tell what it was like to live under an oppressive regime and integrate the art as part of this. It's really brilliant. I absolutely love it. So there is this aspect of art justice. And you have Okiteo, you have these other expressions and parts that you've integrated into Double Edge as it's evolved over time. Can you tell us a little bit about what the art justice is to you and why that's important and the different elements that make that up at Double Edge?
Yeah, I think Double Edge has been working with art justice since its beginnings, as you just said. And after the beginning, we did a whole 10-year project going back and forth to Central European countries that landed us in the end in Ashfield. And that project was really investigating Jewish culture and the extermination of Jewry in Central Europe. And so we did a documentary on that work, and it was a further work on the identity of people in the group and encountering the, let's say, the anti-Semitism or hardships both here and there that accompanied that period of time in that diaspora as we worked on trying to identify the different roots and legacies and ancestries that we had. That was the second period of investigation and really solidified our commitment to identity as a springboard for art and culture. If your identity is not free, if you can't be free in your identity, then you can't be part of a culture. You're excluded from that. So I think that became a real key to understanding why in the US culture wasn't alive. Entertainment or commercial culture, commercial entertainment was maybe flowing, but the culture involves people. So it springs from people. So we kept going. And then when Carlos came, that was further going, and all the way to the Ashfield Town Spectacle, I would say. We kept investigating based on the identities of the people in our group. And then during the Ashfield Town Spectacle, we did a lot of research into the history of Ashfield. One of the exciting things that we discovered, although bittersweet, was that Ashfield was founded by two African-American freed slaves.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it was incredible. And then further research showed us that in around the 1850s, African and indigenous peoples left the area and left most of this region for the cities for a variety of reasons. But one of the things that we also found while we were excited about that was that the town didn't recognize that there were any indigenous people here. And so we researched that, and we realized that indigenous people had been disappeared from this area. And not that they weren't still here, but they've been unrecognized. So we wanted to do something about that. And we thought that was inhibiting the inclusivity and freedom of this area and even our work. So that's how we founded the idea that we were going to donate land and have a partnership with an autonomous organization, which became Okiteo. So that actually is not a double-edged thing anymore. That is its own organization that luckily we partner with a lot, particularly in things like living presence of our history, which is an educational provision for our community, which we think is like, wow, this is culture. Like we all get to share and learn about each other and learn about our history and our presence. And we just are going to keep going with that.
That's great. That's great. Wow. I learned a lot of history in just hearing you talk. Carlos, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
No, I think it's very clear what Stacy just articulated. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're experiencing, doing and experiencing. And I'm really what I want to add maybe is that I'm learning, like you just said, I'm learning a lot. I mean, things that were erased from the habitual books. Luckily, there are people now writing other books. And we can provide, you can go to our websites and you can see the books with history, with a lot of things that we didn't know, and they're not being they're being erased from other books.
Well, it's been wonderful to attend lectures at Double Edge and to hear different histories, as you say, that are not recorded in the history books and that we've been taught. It looks like you wanted to add something else, Stacy.
I think our culture is a bottomless well of water and beauty, and we need to thirst for it. We have you bring your whole background. And I remember eating some of your food that you were making, and I was like, wow, this is a whole other thing. We have so much here, and we only need to allow it. We really are, we need to get rid of this, there's just one small group of people that hold our society, and see what this amazing culture is. And I wanted to say that we're working on this performance now, which is because it's COVID, we're making a more intimate evening performance, but we've had the opportunity to work with the ancestry of four of our actors, and Larry Spotted Crow Mann, who's the co-director of Okiteo, has agreed to co-present this with us. So he's working on his history, his ancestry from the Civil War, what they brought to that on to the present. And Carlos is working with his background, and Travis Coe, another associate artistic director, is working on his ancestry, and Jennifer Johnson and Milena Dubova are working on theirs. So this will be a really special performance, but it's really special to work on it and see, all these different legacies and histories and presence. And I think it's a gift.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that makes Double Edge special is that you make space for different identities and different heritages, and for them to manifest themselves, and for people to come together to celebrate and to learn. So it makes it super special, and one of the many reasons our family enjoys Double Edge. In your opinion, this is my last question for the two of you, what is the next frontier for the arts community? What are you thinking of at Double Edge? And beyond Double Edge, what do you see as the next frontier?
I'm going to let Carlos end and just say one thing. We've been on the internet and media for over a year now as a society. So I hope that it sees the return to person and live, even more live, and that people have understood in the last year the value and essentialness of live performance.
I think we've all missed that.
Yeah.
I hope so.
And
How
live
about you, Carlos?
interaction. And well, I think that thinking about the frontier, the next frontier, I think that yes, the presence, the art can give this possibility, and it hasn't been fully fulfilling that job, which is to offer this possibility of a person-to-person interaction, which is more than a conversation. Other things of value are happening, like trust is not built by why I say, but my demeanor, my shyness, or my forwardness, or all those little aspects that there are a universe that each one of us carry with us. And then that exchange is, to me, that is a crucial piece of education, as well as GCC or as a high school is a crucial piece. There needs to be this aspect. And together with that, I want to say that when we talk about justice and we talk about art democracy, sometimes, I think that democracy and justice, it doesn't happen only in the government house or in the court. That justice is an exercise that needs to be paired with education, an education that is like GCC, sure, but also we need other educations, like going to the town meetings, to the town halls, like talking to my neighbors. This is the next frontier of art, to get out of the established. It's great that we have established these places like galleries and theaters, but we need to get out more and use that as a tool for education and for transformation of ourselves.
I love that.
I think that's the challenge of the art in what's coming. And I think it's a perfect moment for that to be asked, because we are in many different crises right now. Health is an issue. The violence is another issue. The structures of government. So yes, art needs to help, to contribute with education.
I love that. So the concept of the arts making it accessible for democracy and for citizenship.
Yeah.
Profound. Well, thank you so much. It's been great to spend some time with you, both Stacy and Carlos, and I love Double Edge. And can you tell us what your website is, so if people want to visit Double Edge website?
www.doubleedgetheater.org.
All right, easy enough. Well, thank you. It's been great to spend some time with you, and you guys have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Eve.
Thank you.